Okay, so what I'd like to do right now is look at the pointers.java file that's in the jar file for this week. So there's a difference between primitive variables and array variables in Java. And the difference is the primitive variables, they store the value directly in the variable. Arrays work differently. Instead of storing the values directly in the array variable, it can't because there's more than one, so it won't fit. So instead of that, what's actually stored in the array variable is a pointer to a place on the memory heap where all of the values that go in that array are stored. And we can see that actually in this program that's written here. So for example, array 1 is 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. Array 2 is also 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. When I print out just the values of these variables, I don't see 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Instead, I see something that looks like this over here. What this is the square bracket indicates that this is an array. The I indicates it's an integer array. The @ sign is telling me that what follows is an address in memory. And then this number here is the address in memory where to find these values. So that's what's actually in this array variable, as opposed to what's in the primitive variable, which is just 5, which is the number that we stored in it. So in that way, arrays are different than primitive values. And this has a lot of implications for when we program. So for example, what happens if we try to compare the values of two array variables? So if I say if array 1 double equals array 2, well, in this case, array 1 and array 2 have the same values. Normally, when we're comparing arrays, we want them to come out as equal if they contain the same values. But that's not what happens here. So in this case, when we say if array 1 equals array 2, what we're comparing is what's stored directly in those variables, which are these addresses. And we can see those addresses are different. And so the message that we get is that array 1 is not equal to array 2. So that's why when we compare arrays, what we have to do is actually compare the individual elements inside the arrays. So in this case, it would be like if array 1 sub 0 equals array 2 sub 0, and if array 1 sub 0 equals array 2 sub 0, and array 1 sub 1 equals array 2 sub 1, and so on all the way through for all of the items in the array. So that's what the arrays.equals method does. So in this case, it compares all of the values inside those arrays, and we get what we were expecting, that the arrays are equal because they contain the same items within them. So that's probably what we want in most cases when we're programming. The same kind of thing, or a similar kind of thing, comes up when we try to copy arrays. So normally, if we're going to make a copy of just plain primitive variable, we would use the assignment operator, which is just a single equal sign, right? The problem is if we make a new array, array 3, and we set it equal to array 1, when we print those out, we get two arrays. Array 1 is 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9, and array 3 is 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. So it looks like everything's great. The problem is what we actually did was we created a copy of the array, but we created a copy of the array that's pointing at the same place in memory. And I'll show you this in a second video. So what happens, what we get because of that is if we change, let's say, the first value in array 3 from 1 to 42 and then print out both arrays again, we see that now the first value in array 3 is changed to 42, but it's also changed in array 1, which is again probably not what we want. So to avoid that, we can use the arrays.copyOf method that's built into Java. That will create array 4, for instance, is a new array in memory pointing to a separate location in memory, and then it copies all of the values from array 1 into array 4. So it's a completely distinct thing. So please take a look at the second video in this series for more information about this.